Yes, I see you, Hal.
Okay.
See you.
Oh God, thank God I'm not on that call.
You gotta use the other link.
No, that's good. I'm good.
Okay, so what do you think? Call to order?
Yeah, I do want to do a roll call before we.
Fair enough.
Let me go to the participants page. Let's see. So I know we've got Matt from Colliers. I know we've got Dean and Aris from Silver. On the committee, there's myself, Hal, Jack, Lou, Don, and I know Prue, but anyone else from the committee on?
Yeah.
Jeff's on.
Jeff's on. Yep, I'm here.
Okay. So is that everybody? So we've got Jack, Hal, myself, Don, and Lou, and Jeff. Anyone else? Okay.
Max joined, but I was just planning on listening unless you guys...
All right, Max from Werner, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Okay, well, we'll call them. It's at 6:31. We'll get started. I forget, what did we do last time? Did we do the
we did
or no?
No.
All right, moving on. Quick agenda tonight. I'd love for this to be over relatively quickly. First order of business is just to act on the invoices. This is one of those odd times where we've got 3 weeks between our meetings. So since we were meeting anyway, I thought it would be prudent to pay the silver invoice because it was ready and not keep them waiting. So I don't know if people can see it on that screen. He also did share it in the Dropbox, but it's roughly $9,811.89. Matt, do you just want to walk through that invoice?
Sure. There are, I've reviewed it and provided a small comment back to Dean, but you'll see that markup on there. Everything else is in line. They're looking for some payment for construction administration services, as well as Langen is requesting payment for some of their time in doing abatement monitoring, and then there's a reimbursement for the printing for the cart barn set that the town had requested. So that's the total of $9,811.89.
And this is in line with the contract, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I move to approve.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Move and then second. All right, so Jack moved, Hal second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. I'm going to go through a roll call for the vote. Hal?
Yes.
Okay. Jack?
Yes.
Okay. From the top, Lou?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Let's see. Jeff?
Yes.
All right, and I vote yes. Did I miss anybody from the committee? I think we've got 6 tonight.
Tamara's here, sorry.
Oh, great. Tamara, did you join with enough time to hear that discussion? And would you like to vote?
I did not.
Okay. Would you like to abstain, or do you want us to go back and review it?
No, I'll abstain, that's fine, thank you.
Okay. All right. It was just a regular progress payment, effectively, for Silver Petroselli. All right, so Prue, you've got the vote. We've
Yes.
got six in favor.
And one abstention. Yep.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Thanks.
Craig, you'll sign it and then email it to Corinne, and I'll do the same thing on my end, so she'll have both copies like last time?
Yep, that worked well.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Yeah. All right, second and final order of business. We'll keep this short because it's a special meeting. As everyone knows, we're not proceeding with the parking lot as originally intended. The original plan called for a 6-inch sub base, followed by a 6-inch base, and then the top layer on top of that. Long story short, we've been going back and forth on this option 1 versus option 2 for a while. The basic difference between the two is we can either proceed with option 1, which is to have Grasso work with the existing materials or existing materials, grind that for a 6-inch base and proceed forward. They would also do the fine grading work because DPW doesn't have the wherewithal to do that. So they piggyback off of the contract with Werner and Grasso to have them do that work. They'll pick up that extra work. Or the other alternative is all of the above plus bring in an additional 2 inches of sub-base material to supplement what's there. So I don't know if people have it on their screen or if they were able to pull it up on their or from the Dropbox, but in both scenarios, because they're not excavating down as far, we've got a $12,000 credit as a starting point. But on top of that, because Grasso is doing this extra fine grading, there are other costs associated with that. Different machinery has to be brought in, different number of man hours. They effectively have to work this a couple of times. So net, Grasso's fee, together with the markups per the contract for option 1, would cost the project $12,000 and change, $12,184.74. If we were to bring in material or have DPW bring in material to supplement that, that $12,000 goes up by roughly $11,000 more because they'd have to run through this a couple of times. So it becomes $23,705.51. In both instances, DPW will be providing $1,000 worth of fine grading material that is different from and above and beyond what's on site. So DPW would be bringing that material in. The cost of that is roughly $6,000. And then for the second option, DPW would be supplying and bringing in the 2 inches of 3/4 inch gravel to supplement the base layer. So Matt and I have had continued conversations with Brian Carey at DPW. They, based on the geoengineering report from, I think it was a Geotech, I forget. They think that the life of the parking lot could be compromised if we don't move forward with a supplemental 2 inches of material. So the recommendation from the third-party expert was to go with option 2, and DPW has indicated that they want the project to move forward with option 2. This committee had met and discussed this a couple of times in the past and felt comfortable moving forward with option 1, but that's not what the town wants us to do. So what's in front of us tonight is an action. We have to decide how we're going to move forward.
Is the town, if we come up $11,000 short at the end of this, I think is the town going to say, that's okay, we've got you covered? I mean, other than that, what other question do we have? I mean, unless there's a timing issue.
Well, there are a couple of things. That's a good question, Jack, and I can tell you that Brian did say to me on the phone this afternoon that if we come up a few $1,000s short at the end and we can't do plantings, for example, that would be the final step to do the landscaping, they would outsource or supply us with planting materials. So if we're worried about $11,000, he told us not to worry about that in the long run. But there's no written agreement to that effect. It's just what he indicated to me on the phone today.
So is there a timing problem? Is this going to take us another month to do this?
No. Yeah, so from a timing perspective, if we agree to move forward with option 2, we can give the direction to Werner verbally tonight on this call. Max is on the call. We can give him all the written and formal information needed for him to move forward tomorrow morning, and they can start going. They've made it clear at their last OAC meeting last Thursday that they are at the point where they need direction from the building committee. They cannot afford to wait any longer, and they need some direction in the morning. So,
Okay, well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, based on that, why wouldn't we do option 2? I mean, is there some issue that anyone else has?
Hey, Jack, this is Don. I had just a couple questions. One is, did Eris and or Dean go over the scope of how Grasso is doing the work for option 2, and is everyone in agreement on the method? Is Eris still on?
Yeah, hi Don, this is Arish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about their scope. The scope is reasonable for what they're doing, and we agree on how they're approaching it.
On the actual method, right? They were going to mix the stone in however they do with the reclaim.
Correct.
And make it work. So if you're in agreement with that, that's good. My second question or statement was, I think, Craig, you said the town is contributing about $6,000 worth of the gravel.
More than that, actually. They're contributing some amount. I don't know the cost of it, but that 2 inches of base layer for the sub layer, the 3/4 inch stone, that they're supplying. I don't know, Matt or Aris, if you have that number, but in addition to that,
Like 430 cubic yards.
That's correct.
And then there was a note, Matt, I think on the bottom of your sheet there that said if Grasso has to provide it, it will be billed at $30 a cubic yard.
Yeah, so that's the second piece of additional material that Craig was referring to. So the first piece is the 2-inch layer of 3/4 gravel, which is what we've talked about in the past, and DPW has agreed to provide that material. The other material was Grasso had identified that because of the work and in fine grading, they anticipated that they would need additional process-based material to, fill in low points and such, which is kind of somewhat typical in the process of fine grading. And so they had provided a unit cost of $30 per cubic yard, depending upon how much they needed. But obviously there was also the option that DPW could provide that material as well. And in Craig and my conversation with Brian Carey earlier this afternoon, Brian Carey said that they would be able to provide that material as well. So there would be no additional material cost associated with that $30 per cubic yard from Grasso.
So that makes it worth more than whatever the gravel was, and more than $6,000 the town is contributing. And then it seems like impact to the project, originally it was supposed to be zero, right? We had the previous agreement with the previous regime that we do this, they do that, cost should be zero, life will be wonderful. But knowing how things changed, that now we're in a position where we can either come up with 12,000 and change or 23,000 and change to just keep the project on track. And I don't know if you were going to allude to this, Craig, but there's money in allowances in the contingency to fund this extra. The question I had with that was some of that, I think we did and other. If we spent $23,700 out of that dedicated pot of money, is there, and I ask this to Eris, are we still at risk for some other unknowns in getting that parking lot finished? Is there still?
Sorry, this is Aris. So in terms of the unknowns on the large scale of things, there shouldn't be anything else. Once it's brought up to that final grade that Grasso will be providing, at that point the the paving contractors will be coming in from the town to put down the first layer of bituminous asphalt. There is, and I've mentioned this in the OAC meeting, and it's really a minor thing, but there is a gravel edge that the town would have been providing, but that's, I think, it's really peanuts, I think, compared to everything else that we're talking about, and that's simply to control the runoff from the edge of the parking lot.
Like a French drain, Harris?
It's not even a drain. It's basically stone at the edge of the parking lot to try to reduce the amount of erosion that happens at the edge, and it's basically a gravel edge that over time things may settle, and our thinking was that it's something that could be easy that the town, like when it sees it settling, can combine this add a little more gravel. So that's the only other minor thing that would creep up. But our goal was to get this thing paved and graded and paved out.
Is Max still on the call? Max Warner, are you there?
Yes. Yep, I'm here.
With all that's been said, do you see anything here that there is some other costs from yours or Grasso's standpoint that we need to understand to spending this money?
I do know that we've spent a lot of time with Colliers and areas running through debt scenarios, adjusting numbers. I think they've done a very diligent job of making sure there's no overlaps or anything to that point. So I think you have a very in tune change request for the work that's being asked of us.
Okay.
I can't see any unforeseen specific to this scenario that are foreseeable.
Okay, that's good to hear.
But I think they've adjusted the numbers well down with a good review process that's been lengthy.
Right. No, and we thank you for that. So I'm glad to hear everybody did their due diligence.
Okay, now can I ask my stupid question?
Yeah. Of course, Al.
Because I don't understand any of this. Now we're talking about putting in this base through the entire parking lot. Is that correct? The entire new parking lot as it will stand?
Yes.
Okay. The 1-inch asphalt that's going in, will that be just over the temporary parking lot, or are we getting 1 inch of asphalt over the entire parking lot, and then the rest of the parking lot will be done when we open with the second 1.5 inches? So I guess I'm asking, are we doing a partial of the top coat for the 100 cars, or are we doing a partial? Or are we doing the whole parking lot with the top coat?
I think that's kind of to be determined as Werner analyzes what they can get done in the time that they have prior to the golf course opening. So I'm sure that they would shoot for being able to have a binder course on the entirety of the parking lot and drive path, just because that would simplify things for them as well as DPW. But I think it depends upon the timing.
Okay,
so at the very least, there would be a binding course on the area of the 100 cars.
Okay, and so if we have to do this in 2 stages, I'm wondering if there's going to be additional costs on the back end to do the second part. And is that something that we may have to put some money away for? Because my understanding is we have $38,000 earmarked. I hate that word, but encumbered in contingency for this originally. Is that correct, Matt?
That is correct.
So right now, from 38 to 23, my math is quick, it's $15,000 that is no longer encumbered in the contingency fund. But should that stay there just in case there's additional costs when we're ready to open because something in the parking lot, or am I just way too far away?
The paving cost is all on the town, right? The town's doing all the paving, so if there's additional remobilization for phase 1 and 2, that's kind of out of our budget. That's town money to handle. And
Max, let me see if I can just bring Max in to clarify. Max, I would assume that you guys are planning on getting all of this option 2 done ahead of trying to open the car barn and the golf course. But if for some reason there was a little bit of follow-up work that needed to be done to finalize prepping the other portion of the parking lot, then that would be inclusive in the cost that we see in front of us.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. It is more or less directed at the pavement. I think that we're not going to have any additional cost for mobilizing. And I think we can also coordinate a partial binder and then complete the binder when they come back to do the finish coat. So yeah, it's a good question. It has to get directed at the paving company. And I think we can coordinate with them to limit any mobilizing fees with doing the rest of the binder when they come back to do the top coat.
Okay, so in the short of it, option 2 covers the entire parking lot as it will be set up when we open in November. And then it's just a matter of whether we can pave the whole thing or not. Is that correct?
Yes. Sure. Yeah, this is inclusive of the entire parking lot for our store.
Excellent. Then I will make a motion to make this official. That the committee goes with option 2 as it's presented on change order number 11.
Second, Jack Slane seconds.
Okay, thank you, Hal, thank you, Jack. Any further discussion on this matter? Any further questions or comments?
This is Tamara. I have a question.
Yeah.
Now the planting, has that been bought out? Is that contracted for the end that we might not have money for?
This is ours. Right now, your contract has turf seeding for the entire disturbed area, plus the wet basins and how many trees we had on the planting plan at the time of bidding. That's all we have for plantings.
I think during the VE stage, Tamara, and Nara's, correct me if I'm wrong, any landscaping around the building itself was eliminated, right? So what I think the hope was, if we had money left over at the end, we could throw it towards some shrubs and bushes and things like that. But I don't believe there's anything in the contract with Warner for it.
Correct.
Okay. And then my second question is, do we have it in writing that the DPW will cover that $11,000 difference?
No, and I wouldn't expect that we would get that in writing. It was just a comment that was made, almost a throwaway comment, Tamara, that what he was trying to say was, hey, look, if we hold up the project for this $11,000 difference, it's going to really drag out this decision. And if we're hesitant to agree to, if the building committee's hesitant to agree to this option 2 because of the $11,000, for fear that we would run out of money at the end, he indicated that he'd be willing to buy under his contract, state pricing or otherwise, probably cheaper source and purchase some landscaping for us. But Matt, I don't know if you want to add any color. You were on the line with me with Brian. I think it's the type of thing where if we have money left over at the end, we would pay for it. But if we literally were at zero and we wanted to pretty the place up a little bit, he'd be willing to do that.
That's pretty much what I got out of the conversation. Same.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we've got a motion to approve from Hal and a second from Jack. I'll go for the vote now. Hal?
Sorry, I was muted, yes.
Okay, Jack?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Okay, Don?
Yes.
Okay, Jeff
Yes.
and Tamara,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Okay, so that's 7 yeses and unanimous. Great. Well, that's it. That gets us done through the agenda. Our next meeting is not for until 2 weeks from tomorrow. I suspect it will be virtual again. We'll try and fix this whole link thing. Something's getting lost when we're moving the link to the Word and PDF document, so I apologize for that. But Matt and I will continue to try and practice over the next couple of weeks. We'll get better at it.
If you leave the link in the calendar invite, that link works fine. You just cannot use the link from the finished document. You can't use it from the PDF. You can't use it from the Word document. You have to use the live link from the invite. That's the way it works.
The problem that we have, though, Hal, is that we have to have a link that we can publish and make available on the agenda for the public.
As long as
You're gonna have to copy and paste it.
as long as the phone number, as long as public can join via phone, then it should meet statute.
Okay, so maybe that's how we handle it. We'll get an email out to this body with the link, and for the agenda, we'll just make sure there's a phone number.
Why are we using Skype versus Zoom?
Zoom limits, if we wanted a free Zoom account, we have to limit all of our discussions to 40 minutes or less. I'd be happy to upgrade to a paid account. It's $15 a month. And we could certainly use the Zoom as well, or instead of this.
I would think that'd be a wise thing to do. You know, Zoom is ubiquitous. Skype is not cheap.
Well,
It's awkward.
I just call in and look at it on the screen. I don't need to see you all.
all right, so we'll let Jeff open the account, and Jeff can pay the monthly fee, and we'll be all set.
Yeah, $15. I got it. That's
You
cheap
got
as
it.
beer.
There you go.
All right.
I have one more
And you
question
don't have to
before
dress
we...
up.
Right, I got one question for Matt before we adjourn. Matt, so does that mean that we're gonna take $15,000 and unencumber it from contingency?
I can do either version to the committee. I mean, I was gonna take it out if we're moving forward with either of the options. I would have just approved the final change order number and then released the rest of it back to contingency.
Okay, I just didn't know what the process was, so we got a little bit of plus back in the contingency, which is always a good thing for us.
Yeah.
And just one thing to note, I guess, I'm glad you sort of said something along those lines, was what we're doing tonight is giving official direction to Werner. But there will be an official change request that comes out of this that we'll need to actually approve. It should equate to option 2 values that you see on this, non-formal change request form. But we'll just have to finalize that once the final change request comes through.
Great.
That's fine.
Works for me.
Great.
Now, can I
Matt,
just,
you'll get the direction to Werner formally, even though Max is on the line here and he's hearing it live, which is great, but I'm sure they'll want something more formal in their community.
Yeah, well, I'll send an email, but also I was going to ask Dean and Sullivan Petroselli to put together a CCD to make that a little bit more formal.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, and Tamara, did you have something?
actually it was, oh, sorry.
But it sounds like somebody else wants to say something.
Well, I'm just going to say something real quick, kind of off the record, but I was involved with the Board of Selectmen meeting today, and I heard about all activities for May canceled. So I don't know if that involves opening the golf course or not, but.
Probably. I know that Parks and Rec, obviously Parks and are closed. Even the par 3 golf course is closed and the driving range is closed. Those would otherwise be open and not tied to our construction project. So my to Anthony, I don't know, a week or two ago, he said that even when we get to a point where we can open, if the virus situation is such where the town decides to not open, then they won't open. I think that takes a little time pressure off of us and helps us avoid incurring overtime or putting in temporary doors. But yeah, we may get this all ready to open by May 1st, and they may decide to not open until June 1st.
Hey, Craig, it's Anthony. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Oh, hey, you are.
Hello there.
You're spot on with your assessment, and I'm glad that the Board of Selectmen did talk about it. We have just canceled everything that we've got going on in May, up until June 1st, essentially. They haven't pulled the plug on the Memorial Day parade yet, but I would assume that that's coming next week. As far as opening the golf courses, it's exactly like you said. If we are able to open May 1st and this thing is blown over and we're on the deceleration period or whatever they want to call that, and social distancing is out, I would say we would be opening up again. But realistically, I think we're looking at more at a June 1st at this point, which is sad. But
I personally feel like we need to make sure that we're still striving for that May 1st option, so that if the town makes a decision to open, they can, and that'll be your decision to make.
I agree 100%.
Stay closed.
But here's the question I have though, but because we're looking right now for a May 1st open, we're going to refit that bag storage for the pro shop. If we got another 30 days on top of that, we got more time to get that finished, and who knows where we'll be 30 days later from that, right? So we don't have to make all that ready until we know when it's going to open, right? I don't know what additional work we're doing inside on the bag storage to open for May 1st, but if we're not going to open, then we can prolong that work as well, right?
I would prefer to stay on track for May 1st, Hal, and if nothing else, we're paying for cart storage off-site. The sooner we can get the carts on-site, the sooner we stop paying that storage. And there's no reason if we get a certificate of occupancy without going through, jumping through hoops or paying special overtime or any of that other stuff, we might as well just get the building ready when it's ready.
Right, but that's my question. If we're not putting Jim in there to do that, do we need a CO for just carts?
There's no reason not to get it though. We're not paying extra if we're not paying overtime, we're not paying an expedited for temporary doors. We're just going through a normal process.
Okay, that was my question. So it doesn't cost us anything additional to get it ready for May as opposed to if we had 30 more days.
Right.
Okay, that's cool.
All right. Well, listen, special meeting, we probably shouldn't talk about other stuff, but I appreciate the digression. Why don't we get a motion to adjourn, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Tamara, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Tamara. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Back.
Bye.